The Hanseatic Voyage, a gentle historical sleep story set in the 14th century about merchants of the Hanseatic League sailing from Lübeck across the Baltic Sea to Bruges. It is based on real trade routes and towns, but told in a slow, soothing style to lull the listener into rest. Chapter 1. Lübeck at Dawn. The city of Lübeck woke to the sound of gulls and the scent of the sea. Its red brick towers stood tall against the pale morning sky, and bells chimed softly from St. Mary's Church. On the quayside, ships waited with sails folded like sleeping wings. Crates of salted herring, barrels of wax, and bundles of fine linen were stacked neatly, their marks painted in careful strokes. Men spoke in low voices, not shouting, for the day was still new. Among them was Johann, a young merchant's clerk. His task was not to command or bargain, but to write goods, names, and numbers in his ledger. He liked the scratch of his quill, the way ink made memory visible as the sun climbed. A ship slipped from the harbour, its stern carving a gentle path into the green-grey Baltic. Johann leaned on the rail, watching Lübeck recede. The city's spires seemed to bless them as they went, steady and sure. The sails filled with wind, and the voyage began. Chapter 2. Across the Baltic Sea. The sea was not hurried. Waves rose and fell like the breathing of something immense and kind. The ship creaked, but did not complain. Lanterns swayed gently at night, their light falling in slow arcs. The crew moved with practiced ease. One mended a rope, another sang a low tune about distant harbours. Johann wrote by lanternlight, his words steady even as the ship swayed. Sometimes, when the night was clear, the sky itself seemed like another sea stars scattered like silver coins across its dark surface. The sailors pointed to them, naming guides older than any map. Johann listened, letting the words settle into him as softly as dreams. One evening, a pod of porpoises followed the ship, rising and dipping, as if escorting them. Across the water, the men laughed quietly, grateful for the company. Chapter 3. Visby, the island market. After days of calm sailing, the ship anchored off Gotland, where the town of Visby rose above the sea. Its stone walls encircled roofs of red tile and narrow streets where merchants' houses leaned close to one another. The marketplace was alive with sound, traders calling in German, Swedish, Danish, and Latin. Stalls offered furs from the north, honey from the forest's iron tools, and carved amber glowing like drops of the sun. Johann walked slowly through it all, careful not to rush. He watched children chase each other among barrels, and he listened to monks bargaining for parchment. The air smelled of fish and spices, of bread just baked. That night, back on the ship, the crew shared ale and quiet songs. Johann wrote, "The world is wide, but the road between towns is made of water, and the water carries us kindly." Chapter 4. For the North Sea crossing, from Visby, the ship turned westward, past Denmark's narrow straits, past the grey islands. They entered the North Sea. The waters here were rougher, the winds brisker, yet the ship pressed on with steady courage. Days passed in a rhythm of sail, rope, and wave. The crew spoke less, saving their breath for the work, but there was no fear, only respect for the sea's strength. Johann wrote less, too, preferring to sit with his back against a coil of rope, listening to the waves drum against the hull. One night, when the wind gentled, the men lit a small fire in an iron brazier on deck. They warmed their hands and passed bread. Johann strummed a borrowed lute, playing notes that wandered but never hurried. Above them, the North Sea sky opened wide, filled with stars too many to count. Chapter 5. Bruges, the quiet harbour. At last, the ship entered the canals of Flanders, and Bruges greeted them with calm waters and towers mirrored in the still surface. The harbour bustled, but not in a frantic way. Horses pulled carts across wooden bridges, monks carried casks of wine to cellars, and merchants stood with their ledgers, nodding politely. Johann followed his master through the market squares, where Flemish cloth gleamed in shades of deep blue, and crimson spices perfumed the air. Pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, carried from yet farther seas. That evening he walked alone to the edge of the canal. Swans drifted silently in the water, their feathers catching the last of the sun. He opened his ledger and wrote one final line. The sea is a road, and the road is a song. Tonight I sleep where water becomes memory. With that, he closed the book, leaned back against the harbour wall, and let the hush of Bruges and the breath of the water carry him into dreams.